Okay, everyone, so we're going to talk about Chapter 23, Nursing Informatics and Nursing Education. Um, so nursing informatics is going to facilitate how we integrate information, data, and knowledge so that we could support us as nurses, support patients, and other providers. So it helps support them not only in just taking care of patient, but in decision making and exchanging information. So we use that foundation knowledge model that we talked about to help prompt nurses to extend, your theory and the knowledge that you have from just case studies into your actual practical um, context. So competencies in informatics include information literacy, computer literacy, and that's actually important. And sometimes I think we don't think that that's actually necessary now in nursing, but it is. It's just criteria and needs to be taught in school. And the ability to use strategies and systems applications so that data can be managed, we can manage knowledge, we can exchange information, and also for nursing students to use computer mediated communication skills, which you're like, is that social media? And I'm like, well, kind of, but also an appropriate setting of healthcare. So we talked about telecommunications this in week 4. So there's the rise of telecommunication, computer mediated communication, and then virtual technologies. And that's how we've improved healthcare, we've extended care, we've opened up access. And so it's really important that we make this applicable in school. So computer technology needs to be within the grasp of students, and it's going to enhance the way we get content, improves our learning. I mean, think about how many of you would have been able to go get your BSN and still work full time without online teaching? And because of just the improvements in communication and in telecommunication, we're able to do this. So now we're going beyond, using Word and spreadsheets, right? It's learning new applications. And I think sometimes, often we forget that it's part and parcel of our education is to learn new applications, especially in technology. So even in my doctoral program, there are some students who aren't super great at technology and they get frustrated that they have to learn new software, but it's part of growing in your career. You're going to have to learn how to do different things, and sometimes the assignments will reflect that. So our objectives are to describe nursing education in relation to the foundation of knowledge model. We're going to explore knowledge acquisition and sharing, assess technology tools and delivery modalities used in nursing education and continuing ed, and then compare and contrast knowledge assessment methods. All right, so sorry about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me find the next area. Okay, so instructional applications of computer technology. Obviously, it's a way to erase geographical boundaries for students. So some of you don't live where I live. I was able to go to Georgetown, which is one of the best universities, I like to say. Some might argue other ones are best universities in the world, because I was able to telecommute commute into the live lectures that were offered at the school. And I had proctored exams, but they were online. And I only had to go once a semester, and it allowed me to graduate from this amazing university and learn so much more than I think I would have learned at another school. And I got to do it while living in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing my clinical there, raising my child, my husband could still work at his job and I still worked PRN. I think if we had had to move to DC, we would have done it because I wanted to go to Georgetown, but it would have been harder. So for many of you, I know going back to school online makes it easier. And it's the same for my doctorate or teaching you. I could not teach if I wasn't allowed to do it this way. It also enhances the presentation of content. I think it's cool that we get to use videos and different ways to present things. And it's not just sitting in a classroom lecturing. We kind of get to mix it up. So that can improve learning outcomes because everybody learns differently. And it might help tailor instruction to individual learning needs. All right, so modern instructional technologies provide opportunity for simulation, complex multimedia, virtually reality-assisted clinical scenarios, and information and literature gathering internet tools. So here are the different ways you can learn, learner to learner. So interacting with each other to troubleshoot, work out challenges. I think that's the best way to learn, to be quite honest. We have the shift from computer literacy to information literacy, okay? So it's not just knowing how to use the computer, but the information presented and troubleshooting. So we design the most important components of interactive web, enhanced, and web-based courses to provide the best and most effective learning. So there's 4 types of interactions. There's the learner to learner, learner to content, learner instructor, and learner interface. So learner to learner, this is when you guys interact with each other. And you exchange solutions and get different perspectives. I think when you study together, you're teaching each other, you're working things out. And then when you still have questions, that's when you can go to learner instructor. And meanwhile, you can also use learner content. Learner interface interaction includes the way you access your coursework. So, Moodle for you guys. So it is really different. I mean, and the thing is, some people don't like online schools, and you're always going to battle this like stigma. You went to an online school, and as long as you work hard and prove yourself, it doesn't matter, but the main thing to understand is that the technology is changing so quicker than with stigmas, and there's older people in charge. So, as long as you work hard and really learn what you're supposed to learn, that's going to be the way to prove yourself in this setting. So when we pick different types of applications, you want to think about all the different learning styles, the types, and the paces. What are the nursing skill needs that we need to talk about? You're not going to pick an LMS, which is how you learn the learning management system. And you're not going to use one that's not helpful in uploading video if you're trying to prove that you can complete an advanced assessment course. So you want to make sure that the software that you're using, the course that you're using, is effective for what you're trying to teach. So nursing educators are discovering that current students are not responding in the same ways they did in the old days. The whole idea of millennial demand for instant information, but also on the back end, we have instant information, so now our expectation of how people research has changed. So, I mean, I kid you not, sometimes I get things from encyclopedias, and that is really inappropriate now, right? We have access to journal articles and databases so quickly that we shouldn't expect to use anything else. In fact, many schools don't even really use a textbook. They have a textbook just to kind of reference, but quite honestly, your learning is going to come from other areas. So something that's also easy, I always tell the students, I'm like, just text me, don't email me, text me. I love texting. It's so easy. You still have a record and you get the instant conversation. All right, so learning spaces. So when we talk about learning spaces, I think something that's really important to understand is that a learning space isn't necessarily a physical space, right? There's virtual spaces. And it's also not just content, right? It's what you're trying to promote in a class. So we have all this cutting edge technology. Even now, you can go to medical school online. A lot of medical schools blend the classroom the way we have. Now, we don't blend a classroom at Beckville, it's 100% online. But at other schools, they blend the classroom. Something I used to do when I taught at brick and mortar is I often had lecture before class and it was videotaped or whatever, recorded like this. And then class was a discussion and more interactive. And students felt like they learned better. So there was more flexibility in your class and it promoted learning. I think sometimes before that, I remember thinking, man, we spent so much time lecturing. Now we don't have time to discuss. So when we talk about the different teaching methods compared, although the most widely used teaching method among nurse education is still face-to-face, it only retains 5% retention, whereas demonstrations 30%, discussion group is 50%, practice is 75%, and then that peer teaching that we talked about is 90%.